The outer gods from the dawn of time, innumerable universes have been forged by the hands of the Absolute Ones. The Absolute Ones sought eternity by indulging in ceaseless creation, bringing countless forms of matter, souls, and laws into being. However, the Absolute Ones found themselves yearning to break the boredom of eternity. Thus, they devised a new form of entertainment, and that was by unleashing war. They watched as their creation battled one another. The Absolute Ones found great amusement in watching their creation engage in such destructive behavior. Their creation was condemned to a vicious cycle. They gave their lives to fight an unending war, only to be reborn to meet the same fate. But their sacrifice was necessary to relieve the tedium of their creators. But something unexpected happened during the unending war dash. An Absolute One was slain by one of its own creation. Upon learning of this, the Absolute Ones from across all realms gathered to observe the world that had lost its master. Since one of their kind had been slain by their very own creation, no less, the irony was lost on the remaining Absolute Ones, who were united by a single conviction. This power, without a master, shall belong to whoever is first to seize it. Back on Earth, we meet the son of the king of Aura farming himself, the son of the Shadow Monarch, the G. The son of Sung Jinwoo was Sung Suho. I got into Korea University of Arts. These words from Sung Suho shocked his friends. How did an uncultured being like you manage to pass the entrance exam for an art school? ! Shouted one of Suho's friends. The brown-haired boy cried his eyes dry since he had failed, but Suho was just happy that he would be free from this hell. Congratulations, Sung Suho. I heard you say you got into art school. I didn't realize you had such talent. Since when did you even know how to draw? Said a red-haired boy, trying to rage-bait Suho. What is it now, Kim Testicles? Asked Sung Suho. Don't I need to remind you that my name is Kim Tericles? Oh right, Kim Tericles. And for God's sake, look for a dentist. If it weren't for you, Kim Suho, I would have taken over this entire school. Yeah, Kim Tericles. If it weren't for me, Kim Suho, you would never have gotten to graduate. The argument between the two got the other students' attention. Graduation is around the corner. Does Kim Tericles have to be such a child right up to the end? The girl on the left whispered. Seriously, the girl on the right added. Why does he keep picking on Suho? He has just been trying his best to keep his spirit up ever since his parents disappeared. You fucking bastard! Kim Tericles, ready to attack Sung Suho, lunged forward. Sung Suho, as if his body reacted by instinct and self-defense, moved at a terrifying speed, landing a knee attack on Kim Tericles' face. Could your stupidity not wait until graduation? Before Suho could finish his words, it was as if his consciousness had returned in an instant. Surprised at how he was on Kim Tericles' face, the attack lost force and momentum due to Suho's confusion. What the hell was that? Said Kim Tericles, without any ounce of pain. With his fist clenched, an aura engulfed it. His eyes filled with bloodthirst as a sly smile crept on Kim Tericles' face. That didn't hurt at all. With a deafening bang, Kim Tericles' punch smashed into the lockers. Suho barely dodged the attack. The sight terrified Suho to the core, realizing that if that punch had connected with his face, he could have been dead. This scene shocked the two girls who had been observing from afar. Smoke rose from the area of impact, and Kim Tericles' hand smoked like the barrel of a gun after releasing a bullet. Impact had left a serious hole and destruction in a stainless steel locker as if it were made of mud. Sudden action even surprised Kim Tericles, not understanding what was happening to him as he looked at his arm in shock. Sung Suho knew one thing for sure: he was really messed up. Years later, the city had undergone a series of advancements. Sung Suho, now in his sophomore year of college, was caught by distant chatter and murmurs. Looking in the direction of the noise, Suho saw a dungeon gate. Classes in the main hall have been relocated to the annex. Please proceed to the annex in an orderly manner, a man in a suit said through a megaphone. Hunters are currently at work clearing the gate, said one of the suited men. But a crowd had gathered around the gate, taking pictures, each wanting to capture the moment the hunters left. The guards prevented the crowd from getting any closer for their safety. The man in the suit asked how long it had been since the hunters had entered the gate. It was answered, "The hunters have been inside for 8 hours." It has been that long, the hunters may be done. The D-rank gate. Attention, all non-hunters should take a step back for your own safety, the suited man warned. While some college students retreated, others naively insisted the hunters will surely take care of it. Suho, however, seemed gloomy, lost in thought. It's been 3 years since these gates started manifesting everywhere. The world hasn't been the same ever since. Gates dash a passage between our world and dungeons. Unless a gate is dealt with within a predetermined time, the dungeons inside release monsters into our world. And humans have evolved to rise to the challenge, humans who could wield magic, and we saw the emergence of the awakened beings. Rapid changes threw the world into a state of confusion and chaos. But an awakened being named Wu Jinchul founded the Hunter Association and established hunters as an official occupation, which brought order back to the world faster than anyone could have imagined. The world is split into the awakened hunters and the non-awakened, normal civilians. Some people are like ants, having to claw their way forward to make anything of themselves. And then there are others who get to have everything just handed to them. In this new world, ants are always reminded of their limits. No matter how hard a non-awakened being tries, they will always be far weaker than even an E-rank hunter. The hunters stop sealing off gates, the world will come to an end. In other words, non-awakeners cannot survive without hunters. Hunters do not need non-awakeners to survive. That's why we are grateful to the hunters. Thanks to them that a non-awakened being like me can live a peaceful life. This life comes with its own set of fears. The fear of being accustomed to having to give up so many things. Missing parents. Ability to survive on my own without relying on others. Those days when I truly believed I could do anything. Gone. And in their place, a sense of powerlessness. Like that, I recall what Mom used to say to me that I reminded her of Dad. Or how he would have dealt with this. Suho. A voice called out, jolting Suho out of his daze. Art professor. Really focused today, sung Suho. Drawing, the professor asked, leaning in with interest at Suho's work. Comfortable, Suho replied. It is just some freehand stuff I was doing. An ant? Very creative take on an ant, added the art professor. More like a sort of humanoid ant? Suho was confused as to why he was drawing something like it. It was as if it had been drawn by instinct, a sense of familiarity, despite never having laid eyes on it before. The gate began to shine with a bright glow, showing signs of the dungeon opening. Hunters began emerging from the dungeon. The crowd realized the hunters were in good spirits, which meant the mission had been a success. Great job, Hunter Kim Jong-soo, sir, said the dungeon engineer. The dungeon has been successfully cleared. I have some intel I need to report to the Hunter Association. We encountered a new species of monsters. It was a humanoid type with blue flames fuming from its eyes and mouth. They attacked us with their fangs and claws, but were not able to deal much damage. Though I just suffered a light scratch, it seems fine, so I doubt it was very powerful, said Hunter Kim Jong-soo. That certainly does not sound like any monster we have seen before. It is a good thing they were not very dangerous, replied the dungeon gate engineer. The wound Hunter Kim Jong-soo assumed to be small seemed fresh, and the bleeding was not stopping. The wound fumed with a blue flame. As soon as that happened, Hunter Kim Jong-soo felt like his body had been hit with a serious headache, causing him to drop his shield. His eyes turned purple. The other hunters did not immediately notice their comrade's strange behavior. The gate engineer called out for Hunter Kim, but he did not respond. He just stood there. Before the gate engineer could finish his words, Hunter Kim Jong-soo pounced on him. His face twisted into that of a creature, his mouth wide open. Biting into the neck of the gate engineer, blood splashed everywhere. The scene didn't escape the two hunters, who stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. This action alerted everyone around. Hunter Kim Jong-soo's eyes blazed with blue flames as he turned to look at the two hunters. The hunter recognized the blue flames as similar to the monsters from the dungeon. Before she could react, Hunter Kim Jong-soo had closed in on her in an instant, brutally ending her life as he chewed on her flesh. This scene terrified the bystanders, sending the crowd running for their lives. The already bitten humans turned into blue-flamed creatures, causing more casualties as more victims were infected. Loud screams echoed from the outside, drawing the attention of the students. They rushed to the window to see what was happening, but the sight before them sent shivers down their spines. Everyone wondered what was happening. The situation outside was so bad that one could mistake it for a dungeon break. The group debated whether to escape or stay inside, waiting for hunters to resolve the situation. The students pleaded with their art professor, Mr. Lim, to do something since he was a hunter, but Mr. Lim declined. "I am just an E rank," he said. Unbeknownst to them, one of the infected was on a higher building, spotting them easily. Sung Suo, realizing the creature's presence, was terrified as it climbed onto the ledge of the building. It crouched as if preparing for momentum. With a serious leap, it launched itself, alerting everyone in the art class. The infected dived straight toward them. Sung Suho's survival instincts kicked in. He dodged just as the infected closed in on the person behind him, unaware. The blue-flamed eyes, the mouth, and the cracked red skin sent tingles of fear and terror through the art students. "Everyone, run!" Sung Suo shouted as he bolted away while the infected was occupied, feeding on its victim. As he was escaping, he came across a girl struggling to free herself from the debris. "Help me!" the girl called out desperately. Sung Suho closed his eyes. This wasn't the time to act like a hero, it was the time to survive. He bolted out of the art room, reassuring himself that he would get the hunters. The girl reached out desperately for Suo to come back. "Damn it, what do you mean, you will get hunters? That is just an excuse to leave her to die there," Suho said to himself inwardly. "But what can a non-awakened being like me even do? Non-awakened this, non-awakened that. Nothing is going to change if all I do is make excuses for myself. You have got to do what you can, Suho." What would Dad do in a situation like this? What would Dad's thoughts be? What would Dad's motives be if he were in my position, powerless? Would he have run away? The infected, having finished feasting, turned its gaze toward its next target, the terrified girl. She was unable to move, paralyzed by fear, tears uncontrollably streaming down her cheeks. The grotesque face of the infected blazed with blue flames as it bolted toward her without hesitation. It opened its mouth wide, ready to bite down. But something closed in from the opposite direction. It was Sung Suho. With a fire extinguisher, he slammed it into the infected's face with great force, sending it crashing. If Dad were here, he would dash. Before Suho could finish his thought, his vision flickered with static. The more the static intensified, the more unreadable words appeared before him. A system tab appeared with a notification. "You have fulfilled all the requirements for the secret quest. The courage of the weak." A while back, I had a strange dream dash, a dream that felt so real, but also as if I was in a game. With every floor, the monsters only got stronger. And to defeat them, I had to level up, only to fight even more monsters. The stronger the monsters got, the stronger I had to become. After many battles, I finally reached the highest floor. There, I faced a being that seemed human, but its power and aura felt like that of a god, not of salvation, but of death. Even though he was my opponent, I couldn't help but be awed by his strength. But somehow, the final boss turned out to be my dear old father. I think the dream was a reflection of how I saw him. He was so strong and reliable, but I wonder, how did he get that strong? Father, the man who was the shield of the family. How would you, Father, deal with an impossible situation like this? But my instincts tell me, this is what you would have done. The attack from the fire extinguisher pushed the infected back. Now what? Attacks from non-awakened civilians have no effect on monsters. I just rushed in without thinking of the consequences. It feels like something is driving me. What is this? Did time stop? Said Sung Suho, realizing everything had come to a pause. But then, system notification tabs popped up before him, similar to the ones he had seen in his dreams. If it is just like the one I saw in my dreams with this, I have no choice but to accept. As those words fell, the system integrated with Sung Suho. Congratulations. You have become a player. The qualification for the courage of the weak has been met. The blessing of the great spellcaster Kandiaru. The great spellcaster Kandiaru has gifted you a special blessing. As long as you have Kandiaru's blessing, you will live a strong and healthy life. It has a permanent effect on health and longevity, making you immune to all diseases and poison. Your recovery rate will receive a massive boost while you sleep. The system is designed to assist the development of the player. This is not a dream, you only get one life. Proceed with caution. Sung Suho, Level 1. None. Fatiro, Title, Health Power 100, Mental Power, Strength 10, 10, Intelligence 10, Available Points none. Passive Skills none. Active Skills, the Commander's Authority, Level 1. After analyzing the System tab, Sung Suho was sure it was just like his dream. He had a stat window, just like in a game. Then another System tab popped up. Quest available. Tutorial quest. Defeat Mistburn monster and level up. Kill one more Mistburn monster to level up. 3 Mistburn monsters had risen. One of them was a D rank awakened. Sung Suho realized that the time freeze was ending. He warned the girl to run away immediately, and though she hesitated, she eventually agreed. Now I can see the names above their heads. 2 non-awakened Mistburns and a D rank awakened Mistburn. The 2 non-awakened monsters charged at Sung Suho. I have truly awakened. Very well, let us turn my dream into reality. Tossing the extinguisher toward one of the Mistburn monsters, Sung Suho watched as it dodged, just as he had anticipated. He had already prepared a well-placed uppercut. The punch connected perfectly, instantly launching the Mistburn into the air like a chandelier. Even Sung Suho was surprised by the power of his own punch. You have defeated a non-awakened Mistburn. Really? It ended with a single punch question mark. He muttered, comforting himself as the second non-awakened Mistburn charged at him. With a Michael Jackson-style spin, Sung Suho sliced the second Mistburn monster in half, instantly killing it and completing the tutorial. At that moment, the D-rank awakened Mistburn began to move. Your quest rewards have arrived. Will you accept the rewards? This proves it. I have truly awakened, Sung Suho thought as he landed a direct blow to the D-rank Mistburn. The same punch that had instantly killed the non-awakened Mistburns only made the D-rank monster's head tilt slightly, causing internal bleeding but no fatal damage. Seeing the D-rank Mistburn still standing, Sung Suho braced himself. The monster swung an attack, which he barely dodged. But the first attack had been a feint. The real strike came down instantly, slashing across Sung Suho's chest. Using the Mistburn monster as leverage, Sung Suho jumped backward, gaining distance. Terrified, he realized the horrifying truth. If he was injured by a Mistburn, it would not take long before he turned into one. The system detected an abnormal spirit status within Sung Suho, triggering the blessing of the great spellcaster Kandiaru. Health and longevity activated. All danger nullified. Health and longevity, right? There was something about that in the status window, Sung Suho thought, still dazed by his regeneration. But he had completely forgotten about the D-rank awakened Mistburn. The monster lunged at Sung Suho, making him realize he could not afford to be careless. There has to be something I can do. Exclamation mark, he thought in desperation, period. Then he remembered his system rewards. He instantly accepted them. The following rewards are ready for collection. First reward, plus 5 ability points. Second reward, plus 3 strength points. Sung Suho's total strength increased from 10 to 14, making his body feel immensely more powerful. He immediately began to overpower the D-rank Mistburn, using its own weight against it to launch it backward. But the D-rank monster landed on its feet. Sung Suho wasn't going to let it recover. He closed in and delivered a powerful blow to its face. Yet it barely did any damage. The Mistburn retaliated, swiftly slashing Sung Suho's chest once again. Realizing that even with his increased strength, he still could not knock it out, he had no choice. He used all 5 of his ability points and added them into strength. No awakened has ever been able to level up before. An awakener's rank is determined at the moment they awaken. No one has ever surpassed their rank. I do not know who decides who awakens or what rank they get, but if I can break free from those limitations, surpassing levels beyond humanity's reach, then I am willing to push even further. No matter how deep this abyss goes, I will dive even deeper. They say if you gaze into the abyss gazes back at you. But now that the dungeons have gazed into our world, I will finally gaze back at the dungeons. You have defeated the D-rank awakened Mistburn. You have leveled up 3 times. Falling to the ground, Sung Suho processed what had just happened. I took down 2 non-awakened Mistburns and a D-rank awakened Mistburn barehanded. This proves it, I have truly awakened. And this isn't a dream, it's reality. I can do this. Now that I have awakened, I can save everyone. I can put an end to this nightmare. But something was approaching the building fast. A figure sprinted at an incredible speed and with great force launched itself into the air. Sung Suho, unaware of the incoming threat, looked outside to assess the situation. By the time he noticed the danger, it was already too late. A C-rank awakened Mistburn monster was before him, its sword swinging down. A great explosion erupted at the window of the art classroom. The siren alerted the entire city, warning people of the danger. A dungeon has been spotted at the Korea University of Arts. All residents evacuate the area immediately. The military used large speakers to warn residents as they surrounded the university, preventing the Mistburn monsters from spreading further. Damn it, people are dying out there, and all we can do is stand back and watch. When is the Hunters Association supposed to arrive? It is taking longer than expected to get B-rank hunters or higher. B-rank? The commander questioned. Did not they say it was a D-rank dungeon? The Hunters Association suspects some of the hunters have been infected, an officer replied, scanning the area for signs of infected hunters. No way. You are saying a C-rank hunter could have been infected?
Meanwhile,
An infected Mistburn monster approached Sung Suho menacingly. What the hell? Did it just jump up from the ground floor? This awakened Mistburn was C-rank, and it was once a hunter. This one can use weapons, which makes it a whole different level from the other Mistburns. I have just leveled up, but I doubt I am strong enough to take him on. Before Sung Suho could finish his thought, a giant dagger came slicing through the air, nearly slashing his throat wide open. The attack was so powerful that half of the room was cut apart. The sheer force put Sung Suho on high alert, but there was no time to assess his opponent. The C-rank Mistburn was already preparing to strike again. Suho quickly tossed a fire extinguisher in the way, but it was sliced in half without resistance. The extinguisher's contents engulfed the room, acting as a smokescreen and allowing Suho to bolt away. There is no way I can take on a monster like that. I guess ranks exist for a reason. Where are the hunters? If I can just hold out until they get here. But the C-rank Mistburn monster was focused on something else. Suho noticed its gaze shifting toward the roof where 3 survivors were hiding. In an instant, the monster launched toward them, its blade ready to strike. This unexpected move shocked Suho. He had not expected it to target the weakest first. Blood splattered against the walls as the 3 innocent girls were mercilessly cut down. Seeing them butchered without a chance to resist made something snap in Sung Suho. Damn it, I cannot afford to wait for the hunters. With that realization, he lunged forward, landing a direct kick to the C-rank Mistburn's neck. It is up to me to stop this monster. The non-effective kick barely fazed the creature, but it turned its attention to Suho. Enraged, it charged at him, slashing in a berserk fury. Suho knew if even one attack landed, he was dead. But after witnessing those innocent deaths, he could not let this monster continue its rampage. With fierce determination, he unleashed a barrage of punches, but they had no effect. The Mistburn's sword came dangerously close, nearly taking Suho's head. Dodging desperately, Suho decided he would fight with everything he had. His instincts kicked in, sharpening his senses to that of a battle-hardened warrior. Moving like a veteran, he landed a direct knee strike to the Mistburn's face. But the attack did no damage. Seizing the moment, the Mistburn slashed down with terrifying force, its blade cutting deep into Suho's chest. Pain surged through his body. Not just the slash itself, but the sheer power behind a C-rank monster's attack was terrifying. The impact sent Suho crashing to the ground, causing massive internal bleeding. Struggling to move, he glanced at his status window. His health had dropped to 1 out of 140. 1 health point left? Guess the system does not want me to die just yet. But the C-rank Mistburn was not going to give him a chance to recover. At that moment, something strange happened. Up in the sky, space itself began to crack. Suho barely held on to consciousness as the Mistburn monster rushed in for the final strike. The blade descended, aiming straight for his head. But then, crack! The fabric of space shattered like glass. A shadowy figure emerged with terrifying speed, unleashing a screeching sound. From above, it saw the Mistburn closing in on Suho, and in an instant, it shot down like a torpedo. A deafening boom erupted as it crashed into the Mistburn monster, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Suho tried to keep his eyes open to see what had arrived, and just before he lost consciousness, he saw it. A huge ant stood before him. The ant raised its hands, using speed recovery and longevity on Suho. Then, it turned to face the C-rank Mistburn monster. So it was you. You dare lay your unworthy hands upon my most precious master? The creature's voice was filled with wrath. You disgusting vermin. And in the blink of an eye, it vanished. A split second later, the Mistburn monster was annihilated. Another Mistburn, closing in on a terrified survivor, had no time to react before it too was instantly destroyed. The shadowy figure moved with lightning speed, slaughtering every Mistburn in sight. It was a massacre. The blue Mistburn monsters had no chance to resist. They were sliced apart before they even realized they were under attack. Moving faster than the eye could follow, the figure tore through the buildings of Korea University of Arts, exterminating every single Mistburn monster. The military stood in shock. The monsters were vanishing before their eyes. And as the battle ended, a soft, radiant light spread across the city, cleansing the lingering corruption. Then the figure returned. It stood before the unconscious Sung Suho and bowed. "It has been a while, my dear young master," it said, its voice filled with warmth. The Shadow Ant King, Baru, had returned. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Our goal is 10 likes and 100 views for the next part, so let us make it happen. Also, if you want early access to new videos, consider joining our channel membership. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Scene begins when a young Sung Suho is enjoying his scribbles and drawings as something approaches him. It was Beru who asked the young Sung Suho if it was a drawing of him, causing Beru to be filled with emotions and deeply moved. Suho regained consciousness, pondering where he was and how he had reached there as a nurse and doctor assessed his situation. If you enjoyed it, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Our goal is 10 likes and 100 views for the next part, so let us make it happen. Also, if you want early access to new videos, consider joining our channel membership. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Moments later, at the hospital, Suho was being yelled at, being asked if he was okay, as the voice from the other call asked if Suho needed awakened bodyguards to protect him. "I am fine, uncle," replied Sung Suho. "When I woke up, 2 weeks had passed, and the incident at the Korean University of Arts, the incident of the Blue Mist monsters, became a hot topic due to its large quantities of casualties. The discovery that mist monsters could turn people into monsters caused the Hero Association's response to delay, and it issued an emergency in the middle of the city regarding how to counter them. And when the hunters finally arrived at the Korean University of Arts, they encountered the biggest mystery of all. Even the victims who had survived only answered that the blue mist monsters were exploding before their eyes. Sung Suho turned off the television, and with deep contemplation, he realized that everything wasn't a dream. This time, it was actually true. He had actually awakened. Realizing he was the only awakened one who could level up, he pondered, wasn't he seriously wounded fighting the C-rank blue mist monster? How was he alive? "Because I, Beru, disposed of those fools for you, dear young master," as if answering Sung Suho's thoughts, Beru began to reveal himself in a small, shadowy, chubby figure. "It has been a long time, young master," said Beru, trying to hold back his tears, not wanting to cry before Sung Suho. Young master, you have truly grown up so much. I cannot help but swell with pride. As soon as Sung Suho saw Beru, all his scattered pieces of memories came flooding back. He recalled Beru from when he was just a little child and the time he had spent with many shadowy creatures throughout his entire childhood. This confused Sung Suho. Why was he recalling Beru just now? I, your humble servant, have crossed over dimensions to serve you, young master, said Beru. But Sung Suho wondered why the shadowy creatures had been with him through his childhood. His mind was flooded with dozens of questions. Ah, Beru, I do not think I remember you being this small. My current size is a result of interdimensional travel, which requires a lot of mana. I assure you, my true form not only inspires but engraves absolute terror and fear into the soul of your opposers. But the system window says you are just a foot soldier, replied Sung Suho. This shocked Beru, who cursed the system for underestimating him. Sung Suho, getting out of the hospital bed to stretch, asked Beru if he was the one who had healed him, to which Beru agreed, telling Sung Suho that even though he was a killing machine, he was also a very skilled healer. I traveled all the way here to release you from your seal, but it seems you had completed that on your very own. How very impressive. My seal, asked Sung Suho. Does that have anything to do with the dreams I have been having? You may have misjudged them as dreams, but they were memories. You were much stronger the last time we dueled. The great Lord Shadow Monarch, Sung Jinwoo, sealed your power in the hope you could live a normal life. Sung Suho, having heard the name of his father, sparked curiosity within him since he had not seen him for a long time. I heard my father's name. Tell me, why did he leave? Asked Sung Suho, pinching Beru on the cheek. He didn't leave. He went to space. Space? What are you talking about? He is bad at science, let alone being an astronaut. To put it simply, Beru replied as he turned into a misty form to project his words and make Sung Suho understand better. The great Lord Shadow Monarch is away waging a war against invaders who seek to take our world. So you mean Dad is in space alone, protecting the whole entire world from extinction? Asked Sung Suho in a daze, trying to fathom the information. Yes, the Outer Gods, also known as the Itarim. The Itarim have sent their forces to forcefully invade and conquer our world. On my way into this dimension, I myself had to kill a dozen worlds of different kinds. The gates and the monsters that have appeared in this world are most likely a result of this war. Suho intensely listened to Beru's words as he asked if his mom was also with his dad. This question even surprised and shocked Beru himself. They both disappeared on the same day, so I assumed they were together, Sung Suho replied. Sweat trickled down Beru's face while he shook vigorously, and with a loud shout of shock, he yelled, "What?" Mistress Heian is missing. Beru pieced it together. It had to be the Itarim. It happened as soon as their forces attacked Earth. An evil scheme hatched. So the Itarim is behind all of this. The sudden change in Suho's tone caught Beru's attention. It reminded him of Sung Jinwoo, the same tone of rage and desire to exterminate the rage of a monarch. They are the reason my parents are unable to return home. Do you wish to see them? Beru asked Suho. Of course. All these years, I have been alone, no one to care for me, just loneliness. If that is so, dear young master, then you have one choice. Your father will be unable to return to Earth for some time. That means you must grow stronger in order to rescue your mother, Mistress Heian. You must do everything in your power to level up to the heights your father had achieved. Quest has arrived. A system tab notified. Quest, the Trial of the Shadow. You are the son of the Shadow Monarch, born with absolute great power. But it was sealed until you prove yourself worthy of wielding such power. Enter the Shadow Dungeon to prove your worth as the son of the great Lord Shadow Monarch, Sung Jinwoo. Holding the Shadow Key, a system tab appeared. Item, Key to the Shadow Dungeon. Difficulty unknown. Category, a key that grants access to the Shadow Dungeon. This key can be used in Sung Suho's shadow. Use that key to open your shadow, young master. Reaching out with the key to his shadow on the wall, The key seemed to unlock, sounding like an ancient Egyptian double door opening a passage to the realm of the dead. A vortex began to form from Suho's shadow, creating a portal to another space, which grew bigger and bigger. "Enter the shadows to reclaim what is rightfully yours, young master," encouraged Beru. "I do not know any of this, or if I believe any of this. All this talk about space, war with the gods, the shadow monarch, it feels like nonsense. But if I get stronger, that means I will be able to see my family once again. Until then, I will have to level up as many times as it takes. If the gods are going against my father, wait until I too can reach such a level, and they will atone for their sins." This feeling Beru was sensing made him recall.
Flashback.
"My king, did you summon me? Go to Earth and release Suho from his seal," said the king of the dead, the greatest of all time, Sung Jin Woo. "Do you mean the young master's seal, my lord?" "Yes. There is a chance that the Utharim's forces have breached and already reached Earth. Return Suho's power and memories so that he can aid in defending Earth on his own. And from now onward, I, your Shadow King, permit you and give you full authority to act upon your judgment and guide him on the path you see fit."
End of flashback.
Having recalled this, Beru reminded himself of the responsibility on his shoulders and vowed to act accordingly. He remembered the weakened state in which he found Suho, close to death. Beru vowed to himself not to let such a thing happen to his young master again. "I, Beru, choose to remain alongside the young master and look after him as he grows to reach and even surpass the heights the king had set back then." As they entered the Shadow Gate, the gate seemed to react and instantly vanished. Going through to the other side, Suho was surprised by what he saw. "This is the land of the dead, where no living creature may enter without permission, young master. This, young master, is what is called the Shadow Dungeon. This is the Shadow Dungeon. The place looks more like an abandoned city than a dungeon, but Suho wasn't sure. The place seemed really familiar. A system notification popped up before Sung Suho. Quest survival. The inhabitants of the Shadow Dungeon will never accept a weak ruler like yourself. Survive until the timer runs out. Required time 4 hours. I have to survive out here for 4 hours? Asked Suho, looking blankly at the system tab. Be vigilant, young master. Your trial has begun, warned Beru. My trial question asked Sung Suho. A creature jumped in for a sneaky attack on Suho, but with quick reflexes and combat instinct, he performed a swift handstand, delivering an upper leg attack to the creature's chest, sending it flying back. Where the fuck did you come from? The creature that had been tossed back was actually a goblin, but a goblin scout. The fuck? These idiots have scouts, asked Sung Suho. A scout means other goblins are nearby, answered Beru. Then I will finish him off before he can alert them, said Suho as he rushed toward the goblin at full speed. Young master, it is true that goblins are one of the weaker monsters, but I must advise caution, warned Beru. Don't worry. The goblin's name isn't displayed with color, which means it can't be stronger than me. With a quick strike to the goblin's arms, Suho disarmed its axe, caught it, and with a great swing, brought it crashing down onto the goblin's head, crushing its skull and instantly killing it. One thing I've realized is that anything stronger than me will be displayed by color, Suho informed Beru. A sound like that of a war trumpet caught both of their attention. They turned to see a goblin blowing its horn, alerting the others. A troop of goblins gathered, and among them was their leader, the goblin centurion. The goblins were in small groups, each led by a goblin commander. Ah! Aren't you going to help me, Beru? Asked Sung Suho. As much as I wish to, young master, I am unable. Since I am far from your father, I must conserve my strength. Besides, my aid would result in greatly reduced experience points and battle experience for you, young master, Beru replied. So basically, you are not going to help? Asked Suho. You know what? Let us give this ability a try, he said with a grim smile. A visible force covered the axe lodged in the goblin's head, and with great suction force, it left the goblin's skull and instantly began chopping down the group of goblins. I saw this skill in my status window. Activating it feels like I gained an invisible hand. This is the power of the commander's authority. An arrow, aimed straight for Suho's head, was caught midair. This made him realize that among the goblin troops, there were also archers. And using the commander's authority, Suho, being the kind man he was, wouldn't keep something that wasn't his. So he kindly and gently returned the arrow directly into the goblin's head. Baru was shocked by how quick, precise, and fast Suho was adapting. All his time looking after him as a child, it was like witnessing a legend unfold. He inherited the commander's authority from his father, and he was able to use it at such a young age. But this power created for pure destruction served no purpose in a world that was so peaceful. But now that the forces of the Itarim have invaded, this is the time for the young master to unleash his true power and go down the path of a monarch. And the level-up notifications kept increasing. Looks like the commander's authority only lets me manipulate objects up to 10 kilograms, Suho muttered. As he was in a daze, a goblin landed a sneak attack, inflicting damage. The goblin, with an evil grin, gave a bloodthirsty gaze. But before it could rejoice, Suho crushed its face. This made Beru worried, seeing the state Suho was in. Back in the goblin troop, one goblin released an overwhelming bloodlust. It was the leader of the goblins, the goblin centurion. Reaching for the dagger buried deep in his gut, Suho winced in pain as he pulled it out. And with great force and a firm grip, he launched the dagger with tremendous speed, aimed straight for the goblin centurion. It landed directly in its chest. But the feeling of lingering between life and death, it gave Suho more excitement than ever before. The more the goblins attacked, the more he defended himself with his bare hands. He took damage, but the rush of excitement and joy was greater. Suho dashed through the troops of goblins like an unstable force. And in that moment, he managed to grab another dagger. Mercilessly, Suho slaughtered the goblins, leaving them no chance of survival. More system tabs popped up. He kept leveling up, more and more, leaving a trail of dead corpses in his wake. And then, the 4 hours were up. Suho had survived. This was amazing, young master. I had no doubt you would succeed, praised Beru, clapping with joy. But Suho wasn't happy. Like an annoyed child, he answered, I can't believe you really didn't help me at all. A system tab appeared, asking Suho if he wanted to accept the rewards. Suho agreed. Following rewards have been delivered. A runestone to be exact, shadow extraction. He told Beru about it, which surprised him. Suho, you are also acquiring the power that the king had. And I also got a skill called tenacity while I was fighting. When I awakened, I did not just get the level system, I also received new skills. Suho realized that after awakening, he was becoming absolutely overpowered. Beru explained, the system you use is a modified version of the one your father, the Shadow Monarch, used in the past. It is a support tool to help develop your power. In other words, you thought you were an unawakened civilian, but you were born with a silver shadow spoon, a power many cannot even comprehend. Holding the runestone, Suho crushed it. A familiar aura of the dead accumulated around him. He had now acquired the skill Shadow Extraction. Shadow Extraction, Level 1. Passive, Shadow Authority, no mana required. By extracting mana from a corpse, you are able to create Shadow Warriors. The chance of failure increases with stronger targets and as more time passes since their death. Available extraction 0/3. So I can make Shadow Warriors? Beru explained that this skill allowed Suho to create warriors, just like himself, from corpses. Shadow Extraction is the skill that made the current Shadow Monarch, Sung Jin Woo, who he is today. Isn't this like necromancy? But I need to hunt to get the required corpses. So does that not mean I can control those who are weaker than me? Suho asked. Reaching his hand out, he continued, I have heard that summoning skills are not considered very useful in the hunter community. And then he uttered the words, Shadow Extraction. But nothing happened. Confused, he looked at the System tab. The system asked him to choose a command to activate Shadow Extraction. This prompt made Beru's heart race. A nostalgic feeling washed over him. A canon event was about to unfold before his eyes. Okay, it has to be something direct and to the point, murmured Suho. Baru's excitement grew. And even though they were separated by dimensions, though the distance between them was greater than the earth and sky itself, it couldn't defy the saying, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree." As if connected by blood but separated by body, Suho spoke the words that the king himself, Shadow Monarch Sung Jin-woo, once used. And those words were none other than,
Arise.
and even though they were separated by dimensions, though the distance between them was greater than the earth and sky itself, it couldn't defy the saying, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree." As if connected by blood but separated by body, Suho spoke the words that the king himself, the Shadow Monarch Sung Jin-woo, once used. And those words were none other than,
Arise!
As the words fell, the shadows of death materialized, and 3 goblins formed, reincarnated after their deaths. They were now shadow goblins, level 1, rank common. So this is shadow extraction? It is not as cool as I thought it would be. Shadow warriors are usually weaker than their living counterparts at first, Beru replied. Do they get smaller too? Suho asked. Yes, young master. How much weaker are we talking? Just a tiny bit, Beru reassured, but Suho noticed something else. It also says that the shadow goblins only last for a day. Beru's eyes widened. That cannot be, young master. Have you not yet acquired the shadow save skill? Nope. I did not get that, Suho answered. The strength of shadow authority depends on your level and intelligence stat. You will see someday just how incredible this skill truly is. All right, I get it. No need to look so disappointed, Beru, Suho said, shaking his head. Then his stomach growled. All right, I am getting hungry. I haven't eaten in 2 days. Beru, how do I get out of here? You can use the shadow dungeon key to come and go as you please, Beru informed him. Okay then, shall we step out for a meal, Beru? Sure thing, young master. A system tab popped up. Do you wish to exit the shadow dungeon? Here is the text to convert. Outside the dungeon, a taste of civilization. Being beaten up makes dinner taste even better. I never knew hospitals could serve such exquisite food. I think I should rent a room here, if possible. Young master, that is not how hospitals work, Beru sighed. Besides, now would be a good time to debrief you on the plans moving forward. You and I have been entrusted with 3 tasks. Suho swallowed a bite of food. All right, hit me. First, we must protect this world from the Itarim forces, Beru said. That means we need to hunt monsters in dungeons, right? Suho asked. Correct, young master. Hunting magical beasts will help you level up quickly and make the world safer. Just as your father once said. Second, we must find the missing mistress, Lady Hei-in, at all costs. And do you have any idea how we're supposed to do that, Beru? If we keep hunting down the Itarim forces, we are bound to stumble across clues. So back to the dungeons again, huh? Indeed. And the last task is the most important of all. I must reclaim my true power. Suho raised a brow. And how exactly do we do that? For that to happen, young master, I have the ability to absorb mana and knowledge through consumption. Wait, consumption? Like eating? It is not the most efficient method, and I have not used it since becoming a shadow warrior. However, since I can no longer receive mana from your father, I have no other option. So basically, you have to consume something that contains mana. Exact. Suho sighed. So once again, we need to go into the dungeon. All right, let us start getting ready. Young master, first you need a hunter's license to access dungeons. Let us head to the Hunter Association to have your mana level evaluated. Here is the text to convert. The Hunters Association, a reality check. Mana evaluation, huh? I wonder what my rank will be. What if, by chance, I am an S rank or something? The machine beeped. Sir, your current mana level is 46. The examiner looked up. Dear Sir Sung Suho, you are an E rank hunter. Huh. Thank you for your time, and congratulations on awakening as a hunter. Suho stood there dumbfounded. From what I have heard, a hunter's rank is decided by their mana levels, Beru said. Since you have been focusing more on developing your physical strength, It is only natural that your mana levels are low, young master. I do not need your sympathy. It's only making me feel worse. Besides, my shadow authority is weak, and I am barely an E rank. How the hell am I supposed to protect the world? Because you have the power to get stronger and level up, young master. Suho sighed. I have heard that E rank and F rank hunters have a hard time finding work. Just getting into a dungeon is going to be a hassle. Then a thought struck him. Wait, there is a way. During a dungeon raid, everyone is assigned a specific duty. The strike squad clears the dungeon. The collection squad collects the corpses of slain monsters. The excavation squad mines resources from the dungeon. Of the three, the collection and excavation squads have no rank requirements. Basically, even E-rank hunters like me can get inside a dungeon this way. A familiar face. Thanks for helping me get a job, Suho, a voice said beside him. Suho turned to face the man, who flinched under his gaze. Only recently awakened, and you are the only other awakened being, I Dogyun, my arts teacher. This was Lim Dogyun, a teaching assistant at the Korea University of Arts and an E-rank hunter. I'm lucky to have someone like you. I even get to work in a dungeon thanks to you. Dogyun hesitated. Hey, yeah? I am sorry for my behavior back on campus, Lim Dogyun said, bowing his head. Even though I was the only awakened being there, all I could do was run away like a coward. He clenched his fists, his voice heavy with regret. I'm sorry I was so useless. Suho blinked. There is no need for that, Dogyun. You are an E-rank hunter just like me. But, according to the Hunters Association, E-rank hunters like us should escape as quickly as possible when we see monsters. Weren't you just following instructions? Lim Dogyun's eyes widened. No, this can't be right, he muttered. Because on the day of the attack, while he was running for his life, he had seen Suho fighting, and not just any monster, but a C-rank blue mistburn. And he had been fighting barehanded on the roof. I must have been seeing things, Dogyun whispered. An unseen threat awakens. Deep in the dungeon, the strike squad was getting frustrated. The red wolf-type monsters were useless, their hides had no market value, and none of them contained odd essence stones. Then one of the hunters called out. Hey, over here. At the center of an altar, a crimson-red sword gleamed ominously. A treasure in an unevaluated dungeon? The squad hesitated, but greed overpowered caution. The tank, Youngjun, shoved his teammates aside and reached for the blade. And in that instant, something ancient and hungry awakened. Youngjun grasped the crimson-red blade, but the moment his fingers wrapped around its hilt, a surge of power flooded into him. It was chaotic, overwhelming dash drenched in an insatiable bloodthirst. His vision blurred. The dungeon faded, and in its place, a vast pool of blood stretched before him, its surface rippling unnaturally. Surrounding him were massive, jagged teeth, ancient and stone-like, arranged in a grotesque circle, as if he stood within the maw of some primordial beast. Then, snap, the teeth slammed shut. A force beyond comprehension swallowed Youngjun's very soul, devouring him whole. And in that moment, eyes, ancient, reptilian, and burning with an eerie crimson glow, snapped open from the darkness. They were the eyes of a dragon. The hunters, unaware of what had just occurred within their comrade's mind, watched as Youngjun slowly straightened, the crimson blade now fully released from the altar. He stood still, silent. For a brief moment, the tension eased. False alarm. Damn, I thought we were dead for a second. Then, slash, a sickening wet sound filled the air as a hunter's head was severed from his body, his lifeless corpse crumpling to the ground. The others froze, their blood running cold. Splatter. Warm, crimson droplets stained their armor. Youngjun, or rather the entity now controlling his body, tilted his head slightly, his glowing crimson eyes narrowing. Who dares trespass and covet the master of Fang's blade? His voice was low, yet carried an ancient wrath that sent shivers down their spines. The possessed Youngjun tightened his grip on the cursed weapon, and the massacre began. Paint this place in crimson blood. The voice echoed relentlessly in Yongjun's mind, its sinister whispers searing into his very soul. Kill, kill, kill. Do not let a single one escape. All who trespass the realm of the Fang Monarch must perish. The already possessed Yongjun tightened his grip on the crimson blade, his bloodlust spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, at the evacuation site, the sound of shovels striking the earth echoed through the cavern, reverberating like war drums. Workers exchanged puzzled glances, looking around for the source of the noise, only to freeze in shock. 3 shadow goblins were mining at an inhuman speed, their bodies showing no signs of exhaustion. Even Lim Dogyun was stunned. He turned to Suho, his voice laced with disbelief. What kind of summoning skill is this? Most hunters could barely summon 1 creature. Some, if lucky, could summon 2 at most. Yet Suho in E rank had summoned 3 with ease. Lim Dogyun couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. Suho, unfazed, muttered to himself, "There are downsides to shadow extraction. I am limited to just 3, and it requires corpses. But using the dead goblins from the shadow dungeon for labor while I rest? That is a loophole I can exploit." A familiar voice interrupted his thoughts. "Young master, do not tell me you are using them as slaves instead of leveling up." Beru's voice carried a mix of amusement and concern. Suho chuckled. "That is not the point, Beru. Besides, it is against the rules for an E rank to enter a dungeon alone. The hunter ranking system is still new, and there are too many flaws in mana evaluations. I will go for a second evaluation after I raise my mana level." His tone turned serious. "Beru, do you remember our 3rd task?" Beru tilted his head. "Are you referring to replenishing my strength?" "Exactly. You said you regain energy by consuming anything that contains mana. So go ahead, feast on the mana crystals scattered around the dungeon." Without hesitation, Beru lunged at the shimmering crystals, devouring them greedily. But then, his entire body tensed. "Young master," Beru called out urgently. Suho's expression darkened. "What is it? I sense another monarch's presence." Suho's breath hitched. "Is it my father?" His voice wavered, hope flickering in his eyes. Beru, however, shook his head. "I am afraid not. If it were the monarch of shadows, my strength would have been instantly restored. This presence belongs to someone else." A low growl rumbled through the dungeon. It was deep, feral, and approaching fast. The workers turned pale as red glows flickered in the darkness. Then 3 massive red wolves emerged, their berserk eyes gleaming with bloodlust. Before anyone could react, the mining team scattered in terror, sprinting toward the dungeon exit. One of the workers, in sheer desperation, swung his mining axe at a charging wolf. But, crunch, the wolf's fangs sank into the axe, shattering it like glass. The worker's breath hitched. Despair sank in. Suho dashed forward, grabbing another mining axe and swinging it with full force. Snap! It shattered instantly. "I will buy you time." "Get out of here!" Suho shouted, positioning himself between the red wolves and the terrified workers. His eyes narrowed as he analyzed the beasts. Their names glowed orange, meaning they were about as strong as the D-rank Mistburn monster he had fought on campus. A challenge, but not impossible. But then, he noticed Lim Dogyun standing firm, despite his obvious fear. "Lim Dogyun, you should run," Suho urged. Yet Lim Dogyun clenched his fists. His body trembled, but he refused to retreat. Suho smirked. "Fine, then back me up as my cheerleader." With a flick of his hand, he summoned the goblin trio and opened his inventory. Lim Dogyun's eyes widened in shock as Suho pulled out a dagger from thin air. "Weapon summoning," he muttered, stunned. But before he could ask, Suho vanished. He shot forward like a bullet, his shadow blurring through the dungeon, and with one clean slash, a red wolf was severed in half. The goblin trio cheered wildly, but Lim Dogyun stood frozen, his mind struggling to process what he had just witnessed. How? An E-rank should not be able to do this. Suho smirked. "Well then, arise." A dark aura surged from the wolf's corpse. But Suho knew the rule: he could only have 3 shadows at a time, which meant one of the goblins crumbled into darkness, its life sacrificed for the newly awakened shadow wolf. Beru's eyes widened. "Young master, you are mastering shadow extraction faster than I expected." Suho grinned. It does not require mana, and if I increase my mana, I will be able to extract even more. With a swift stab, he pierced another wolf's skull. Arise. Another shadow was born. The last goblin let out a sorrowful wail as it watched its fallen comrades disappear. Suho now had 3 shadow wolves at his command. Lim Dogyun's voice trembled as he shouted, "What the hell did you just do? An E-rank hunter should not be able to fight like this, let alone resurrect monsters." Suho turned away, his voice low. "You wouldn't believe me, even if I told you." Lim Dogyun's mind raced. A false ranker. Could he be one of them? Then, a system notification flashed before Suho's eyes. New quest, defeat the enemy. A hostile entity nearby harbors murderous intent. Ensure your survival by eliminating it. Active enemies 1. Enemies defeated 0. Suho frowned. I already killed all the wolves. That means something else is here. A metallic clank echoed through the dungeon. Heavy footsteps approached. Lim Dogyun sighed in relief. Finally, reinforcements from the strike squad. Suho's heart dropped. "No! Do not get closer," he shouted. Lim Dogyun hesitated, then froze in fear. The figure emerged from the shadows. Its eyes glowed with a terrifying crimson hue, the same as a dragon's. "No, that is not a hunter. That is—" Before he could react, the possessed Yongjun struck. The crimson blade descended. Lim Dogyun barely escaped as Suho yanked him away, the attack splitting his spectacles in half. The sheer impact of the strike left a deep crater in the ground. Suho's shadow wolves lunged at the possessed Yongjun, but the entity laughed in excitement at their endless regeneration. Suho clenched his daggers. "If I can kill him, I will level up even faster." With a smirk, he charged forward. Young Master has been pushed to his limits countless times, yet he never gives up or runs away. But he still has a long way to go, but I can already see my king in him. Young Master, the blade is controlling him. If you slice his arm off to detach it from the host, the possession will not be in effect. Is that so? Well then, Suho said, using shadow summoning. This made the possessed Yongjun alert and hostile. As the 3 shadow wolves jumped to attack the possessed Yongjun, one even got a chance to bite down and hold the crimson blade. Suho was surprised since, after feeding the shadow warrior mana crystals, they were able to rise again. Indeed, shadow warriors are spiritual beings. They can recover from anything as long as they have mana to replenish from. Behold, that's the power of the shadows. The constant killing of the shadow wolves made some of them not recover quickly. "Ah, Baru, what were you saying?" Suho asked. "This happens when you lack mana, young master. That's why," answered Beru with disappointment. "I smell the scent of a shadow monarch," said the possessed Yongjun. These words triggered Suho's attention and battle instinct unconsciously. The bloodthirst from the crimson blade kept intensifying. "How can such a lowly creature wield the power of the shadow monarch?" asked the possessed Yongjun. "Wait, it can talk now, Baru? How dare a trash like you speak to the heir of the shadow monarch in an insolent manner? Do you wish to be annihilated?" Beru shouted with rage. "Heir of the shadow monarch, you say? I never thought we would ever meet here. Is it fate that you are the sworn enemy of the Monarch of Fangs?" shouted the Monarch of Fangs as he repelled Suho's dual blade throw attacks. Seeing his resilience, Suho used Commander's authority, launching some weapons on the ground towards the possessed Yongjun simultaneously, but his speed was so terrifying. He moved so quickly, dodging the attacks before they arrived, as if time had slowed down for him while blocking some of the projectiles. You were able to repel all 10 blades coming at once within an instant. That is why you have your name, Red. Absolutely terrifying. Well then, let's see if you can block the remaining weapons. "Bring it on, heir of the Shadow Monarch. Bring it on, you weakling," shouted the possessed Yongjun. "If the 10 projectiles did not work at all, let us see you repel all 60 weapons at once," said Suho, releasing all the weapons using Commander's authority. Possessed Yongjun, like a battle maniac, laughed while he entered into a frenzy, leaving mirages all over. It was as if there were 3 of him. All the swords were repelled and shattered when they came in contact with the crimson blade. Baru, seeing this, knew that Suho was born with the ability to use commander's authority. All the goblin's weapons that came in contact shattered like glass. As if enraged by the petty tricks, the possessed Yongjun let out a battle cry as he charged towards Suho. Suho, with a dagger in hand, rushed towards him, but it was shattered in an instant, surprising him, not believing that the goblin weapon could be destroyed by such a subtle blow. This had Suho cornered as he was forced into the defensive, knowing that if one of those attacks landed on him, he would be dead, and the longer the fight extended, the worse it would get for him. Is that all you can do? Run like a little bitch? How long are you planning to hide behind your shadows? You just crossed the line, insulting my father like that, said Suho inwardly, knowing that the possessed Yongjun was trying to provoke him and lure him into fighting with rage. Hey, Baru, if I had a seal on me and I recall climbing a tower, where did my power go? Suho asked. The time you were an infant, your power was sealed, and you recently recovered it. But the power you had when you climbed the tower was enough to rival Iterim. But that power lies in a realm that is neither real nor a dream. It was a test for you to see if you could handle your talent passed down by your father. Whether you succeeded or not, the power was bound to disappear. Are you telling me all of it was just a game? Suho asked. It wasn't about power, but battle experience, young master. Try to remember how you felt back then, the last time you had thirst for combat. With deep focus, Suho began to remember how he used to feel at the tower, his thirst for combat, mostly thirsty for hand-to-hand combat when he used his gauntlets. Suho, recalling Beru's words that shadow warriors recover as long as there is mana, made him think about how Beru can change forms at will. If that's the case, then what I have in mind will work. Suho used shadow summoning, raising 2 wolves. Another one of your tricks. Heir of the Shadow Monarch? Haven't you learned your lesson with your weak, cheap tricks? The 2 shadow wolves came beside Suho, making the possessed Yongjun think they were ready to protect him. The shadow wolves began to change in shape. As Suho reached out his hands to each of the wolves, they began to gather around each of his arms. The possessed Yongjun excitedly thought he had caught Suho off guard and struck down at a terrifying speed. With a bloodthirsty smile, he thought he had killed Suho from that attack. But the possessed Yongjun was surprised since his attack was being blocked by something tough as steel. Using the shadow wolves as gauntlets, Suho was surprised and thanked the wolves for living up to their name as steel-fanged red wolves. By doing this, Suho's shadow extraction reached level 2. By reaching level 2 in shadow extraction, Suho could manipulate shadow warriors into different forms. Suho, with great force, was able to push back the crimson blade, and with newfound courage, he felt he could face the possessed Yongjun head-on. Instantly, he charged forward, exchanging blows with the possessed Yongjun. Baru was shocked by what he was seeing that Suho, even though not strong, was able to keep up with the possessed Yongjun in speed. My goodness, he has weaponized a shadow warrior. The Shadow Monarch has transcended all levels and stands at the pinnacle of shadow manipulation. But the young master isn't worth comparing, but a child of a king is always a king because he managed to break through to the next level of shadow authority all by himself. He is discovering skills before the system awards them to him. The battle instinct young master demonstrates, the way he wields the commander's authority like he was born to it, the absolute concentration to use a skill meant for destruction and chaos with such precision and accuracy, it is just outstanding. And the way he figured out how to use shadow authority by just recalling how he felt on the Netherworld Tower, he was able to acquire shadow authority level 2. My king, ruler of shadows, the protector of this universe, Master Sung Jinwoo. Your little offspring that you cared for, to live a peaceful life far from danger and troubles and free from the care of death. That little one you sought to shield has grown up bigger, taller, and stronger. Even though you are far from him now, it is as if you had never left. The thirst for combat he possesses, the destructive nature in him, is as vigilant as you, my king. Your son and heir, Sung Suho, is truly a true prodigy. Suho, with great speed, had disarmed the possessed Yongjun, holding his infected arm as the crimson blade came down, slicing off the infected hand. An entity seemed to vanish, vaporizing into the air. "You have completed the task of defeating the remains of the Monarch of Fangs," the system notified, making Sung Suho level up 3 times. Baru quickly began to heal the severed arm of Hunter Yongjun. After finishing the first aid, Baru informed Suho, who was relieved that the situation had been resolved without having to take Yongjun's life. Suho relaxed as Baru reassured him of his victory, even though Suho doubted his words. Excited, Suho was glad he had the opportunity to try his new battle technique, feeling that the battle had been worth it. Wanting to check for rewards from the system, he received a prompt asking if he was willing to accept the reward. Accepting it, Suho obtained the Slashing Storm rune and instantly learned the Slashing Storm skill. Using this skill required 50 mana, and it imbued his blade with the power of a raging storm, allowing him to attack multiple enemies at once. Looking at the Crimson Blade, Suho wanted to test his new skill. How humiliating, the Crimson Blade spoke. "To think I was defeated by none other than the heir of the Shadow Monarch. But this will not be my end, for the greed of humans knows no bounds. The moment you take me, I will swallow your soul whole," the Crimson Blade warned as Suho reached out, holding its hilt. Feeling the quality and power of the Crimson Blade, Suho knew it was better than his previous goblin weapon. "I have the authority of the Monarch of Fangs. There is no human I can't enslave," the Crimson Blade declared. However, Suho quickly used shadow manipulation, overshadowing the Monarch of Fang's authority with that of the Shadow Monarch. The blessings of the great spellcaster Kandararu provided resistance to soul corruption and soul slavery. Charging power into the Crimson Blade, Suho activated Slashing Storm, unleashing a powerful attack that covered a wide area with no blind spots. Suho felt the immense power of the skill and liked its destructive nature, though its downside was its high mana consumption. Baru, watching the events unfold, wondered why Suho sacrificed shadows to overrule the Crimson Blade. As Lim Dogjun regained consciousness, Suho quickly hid the Crimson Blade. Dogyun, confused, asked what had happened. Beside him, Lim Dogjun was surprised to see the unconscious, possessed Yongjun. Outside the dungeon, the survivors, mostly E and F ranks, were terrified, having narrowly escaped death. Suho told Lim Dogyun to stay put while he returned to the dungeon to search for other survivors. Dogyun agreed, watching Suho walk back into the dungeon. As he pondered how an E-rank hunter could have a summoning skill, he realized that Suho was much stronger than he appeared. Deep inside the dungeon, more red wolves gathered in packs, but a familiar shadow gauntlet struck them down. Suho, in a battle frenzy, mowed down the red wolves, progressively leveling up. Realizing there were more wolves, Baru encouraged Suho to hunt them for experience points and battle experience. Annoyed, Suho asked the Crimson Blade why its attacks were so weak. The Crimson Blade rebuked him, refusing to ally with the heir of the Shadow Monarch. The Crimson Blade was a weapon made by the King of Beasts, containing a part of the Monarch of Fang's spirit. It had an effect that instilled contempt for the weak, freezing opponents in fear, decreasing their abilities by 50% and granting a 15% chance of dealing a 100% fatal attack. Baru, amused, tapped the Crimson Blade, teasing that its skills only awakened against weaker enemies. Suho, now with a talking blade and a talking ant, looked at both Baru and the Crimson Blade blankly, wondering how chaotic things would become. Approaching an altar, Suho halted, seeing the lifeless bodies of the strike squad before him. The sight was unpleasant, reminding him of the worst-case scenarios for hunters. These idiots dared to trespass these grounds. They deserve what they got. I swore to defend the sanctuary of the Monarch of Fangs, mocked the Crimson Blade, period. Before it could continue, Suho grabbed it by the hilt, embedding it into the ground. "Shut up," he shouted. A system notification asked if he wanted to use shadow extraction on the deceased bodies. Suho turned to Baru, asking if shadow extraction on humans was possible. Baru confirmed that any dead creature could be extracted. Suho considered using shadow extraction on the fallen strike team, but hesitated, realizing these people had left loved ones behind. He couldn't bring himself to do it, and decided to carry their bodies instead. Baru was surprised and asked why he would not use shadow extraction. With pain in his voice, Suho replied, "It would be cruel to force them to fight for me even after death." His answer left both Baru and the Crimson Blade dumbfounded. He covered the deceased strike team respectfully. Confirming with Baru that this sanctuary belonged to a monarch, Suho asked if it had anything to do with the Itarim, since his father had stained the monarch of fangs. "The Itarim are your father's sworn enemies," Baru explained. "But there were 9 other monarchs: the king of beasts, monarch of fangs; the king of insects, monarch of plague; the king of magical beings, monarch of iron-bodied; the king of demons, the white flame monarch; the king of giants, monarch of primal; the king of ice people, monarch of blizzard; the king of magical spirits, monarch of illusions; and lastly, the king of dragons, monarch of destruction. All of these monarchs possessed power beyond your imagination. However, your father faced them all when they invaded Earth and killed every single one." The Crimson Blade cursed Suho as a murderer. "If I had my full power, I would kill you and feed you to the red wolves." Suho, without harsh feelings, negotiated with the Crimson Blade, informing it of the outside invaders, the Itarim. If the blade wished to protect what was precious to it, Suho offered a bargain. "If you help me, I will help you keep the altar safe." "Do you wish to join the forces of the Shadow Monarch's heir?" Suho asked as he grabbed the Crimson Blade. "The Shadow and Fangs fighting a common enemy? I like the sound of that."
Many hours later.
Meanwhile, Lim Dogjin was being interviewed about the massacre that occurred in the D-rank dungeon. Grateful for Suho's help, he detailed everything that had happened. Soon, an article was published about an E-rank hunter who saved nearly all the hunters in the dungeon. Lim Dogjin provided eyewitness accounts in multiple interviews, detailing the heroic acts of an E-rank hunter who fearlessly fought magical beasts. At the second admin section of the Hinmu Guild, Suho's story caught the guild's attention. They were looking to hire E-rank hunters, and Lee Young-ho forwarded a candidate's information to his team. Initially uninterested, the hunters read the data carefully. One of them realized he was reading about the legendary E-rank hunter. Lim Dogyun of the Hyunmu Guild's second administration section agreed. "It will be great for the press when our famous guild recruits a golden goose, the legendary E-rank hunter." Looking at Suho's picture, he turned to his team and said, "I am about to call him now." Sung Suho landed safely, his 11-inch foot imprinting on one of the hunters of the Hyenas Guild. The shadows just stood there dumbfounded, wondering what happened to sneaking in unnoticed. Baru just sighed as he said, "Like father, like son." The hunters were surprised and shocked as they saw Suho, an intruder, having knocked out one of their companions with one move. Suho, absolutely controlled by his battle instinct, turned back to see the remaining members. "Who the hell are you?" shouted one of the members, which jolted back Suho from his combat instinct trance, terrified as he didn't expect to jump in without any regard for his safety. Suho knew that trespassing a guild's territory was illegal, wondering what to do. But a realization came through his mind as he used shadow manipulation, as he made a shadow mask for himself and asked the Hyena Guild members why they were threatening people and questioned how they ran things here. The guards weren't happy as the mysterious masked man before them, Suho, questioned them in their territory after attacking them. As they charged forward, ready to kill Suho, unleashing their attacks, which seemed quite slow for Suho, he dodged their attacks easily. Suhon, having done research, knew the rank of the Hyena Guild members was D rank, and Sugo thought he should hold back a bit. Bro said holding back as he unleashed a concussion of a punch to one of the hunters who flew away back to the group. The body passed through the group, crushing to the main force at the back, sending them flying. This made the charging hunters frozen in fear and terrified. The two frozen in fear hunters saw Suho's 11-inch foot approaching like a bullet and with great force. Suho split-kicked both of them with great force. Even I, the narrator, Don't think this person is holding back. Baru, deeply focused watching Suho fight, was proud that now so-called D-rank hunters were no longer a threat for Suho. Baru, watching the young child who he had raised long ago, was growing to the levels of his master, made him so proud. Suho tied up the beaten-up hunters. That was quite a splendid finish. Young master praised Baru. The trafficked people thanked Suho for helping them. They were all terrified and seriously injured. Sugo told them to leave, as he will take care of the matters from here now on. As the trafficked people left with a truck, Suho asked why the Hyena Guild would be kidnapping people. Crimson Blade called Suho, notifying him that he felt the dungeon nearby warehouse. Suhob walking in to check it out. But the scene before Suho almost made him lose all reason, as he saw a bunch of cages with torture chambers, and Sugo realized that the captured prisoners were sedated and induced with drugs. Baru told Suho he sensed a faint aura. As they approached the area Baru had pointed, they heard whimpers coming from the cage. Suho saw an injured puppy in a much worse condition. This made Suho question what the Hyena Guild was up to. "You idiot tyrant," Crimson Blade said, "that is a young wolf, and that cub is the heir of the king of animals, the monarch of fangs." After the monarch of fangs' defeat, he evacuated his heir to a sanctuary along with a guardian, and the monarch of fangs hoped his heir would rise and continue his bloodline. The Crimson Blade even accepted that he even did not think there would be a successor of the monarch of fang. And all he wanted to do was keep his bloodline alive. Suho listened as he carefully held the wolf cub. Baru agreed that he could sense the faint aura of the monarch of fangs, as he asked Sugo what they will do next. But heavy footsteps sounded to come from behind, as the approaching being did not sound human. The group knew that everyone was knocked out and unconscious. Suho, using shadow manipulation, felt his senses scream danger, as the thing he saw was a magical beast. The Hyena Guild turned out to be useless idiots. "I knew humans weren't trustworthy," said the magical beast. "Brock, you alive?" said he. Crimson Blade, "Wait, you know that creature?" asked Suho. "Of course I do. He is the guardian I mentioned." "It has been a long time. The red Crimson Blade seems you survived as well," Brock said in an evil tone. "Brock, you haven't forgotten the task given to you. What have you been doing all this time? How could you let this happen to the heir?" "What the hell," said Brock. He is gazing at Suho, and with an instant he was before him with blood oozing from him. "Human, how dare you lay your hands on what is mine?" As he snatched the wolf cub from Suho, he was now very alert, as the speed Broken shown was beyond him for his species. With great force, Brock used the wolf cub as a weapon to smack Suho away with devastating force, sending Suho shooting away like a cannonball, crushing back into everything in his path and stopping into a container with great impact. Baru quickly rushed towards Suho, calling out his name, as the trail Suho had left was so devastating. Baru worried and asked Suho if he was all right. Suho, having focused on himself, woke up and said, "Out of all hits, this one hurts him the most." His head was bleeding, and the shadow mask was wearing off. Suho, having sustained the impact, his skill tenacity leveled up, and his physical defense went up from 20% to 40%. Baru told Suho the strange aura he has been sensing since they arrived. He had just realized that the aura belonged to Iterim. These words made Suho's mind go blank once again, as his battle instinct kicked in. "I can feel the aura of Itarim from that beast." Red Crimson Blade asked if Broke knew the consequences of doing things to the heir of the Monarch of Fangs. Brock asked Red Crimson Blade how he thinks he manages to keep his strength even after the sanctuary. It was the survival of the fittest, and that the survival of the weak depends on the strong. As the weak are the nourishment of the strong, even if he is the son of the monarch's bloodline. And even so, that was truly excellent nutrients. So that's why I have been feeding on this rat of an heir, drinking his blood. Red Crimson swears to slay Brock by his own hand. This made Brock laugh menacingly as he shoves off Red Crimson Blade words as a bluff with no actions. "And the monarch's death proved to be his weakness," said Brook as he continued. "I have managed to survive till now. This proves I, Brook, am the strongest." And before Broken could continue, something passes through him. He narrowly dodges the attack. Brock was alert as he had realized he was cut and that wasn't possible by any hunters he ever came across. Baru had quickly reduced the wolf cub. Blue striking light returned to Suho, as it was the red crimson blade which Suho had used commander's authority on it. Suho agreed with the red crimson blade, as they have a common enemy now, and this will be their first battle against a common enemy. Itarim Suho, looking at the furious brook, he knew that he was the first clue to guide him to his father. "How dare you! I will kill you! Maggots!" shouted Brock, as when he opens his eye, there was a mysterious symbol on it. A new notification arrived as the quest was urgent and was to hunt the hyena Brock and also ensure their safety. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Our goal is 10 likes and 100 views for the next part, so let us make it happen. Also, if you want early access to new videos, consider joining our channel membership. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. One of the guild communication team members, after putting down the phone, was asked by Lee Young-ho what Suho's reply was. Lee Young-ho was shocked to hear that Suho had declined their offer. This made Lee Young-ho furious, since when did an E-rank hunter refuse an offer from a prestigious guild like theirs? However, the worker explained that Suho had said he had no interest in joining any guild. Lee Young-ho was dumbfounded that an E-rank hunter dared behave like an S-rank elite. He reassured his colleagues that Suho would soon realize how difficult it was to survive without a guild. Suho, on the other hand, was confused by the daily influx of guild invites ever since the dungeon incident. Baru reassured him that it was natural for the weak to be drawn to his talents. Yet, Suho was disheartened to realize most offers were for collection or porter squads. He didn't understand why there were suddenly so many offers. Slumping onto the sofa, Suho knew joining a guild would interfere with his leveling system, and he saw no reason to join one. Turning to the Crimson Blade, he asked if they should continue negotiations, recalling the condition that Suho must reclaim another sanctuary that had once belonged to the Monarch of Fangs. Suho had no idea how to find it, but the Crimson Blade assured him it could pinpoint the sanctuary's exact location. However, it seemed the gates leading to the sanctuary had disappeared due to a dungeon break. Suho asked if this meant the dungeon had become a field-type dungeon. A field dungeon forms when a dungeon break occurs, turning the area into wastelands overrun by monsters. Suho texted his uncle not to worry if he missed a few calls. Once finished, he set off for the sanctuary the Crimson Blade had pinpointed. Far from the city, deep in the mountains, where human civilization was distant, Suho found the area heavily guarded. Suho asked the Crimson Blade if this was truly the place, as the land was occupied by a hunters' guild. It was private property, and trespassing would mean entering the territory of the Hyena Guild, a group formed by former gang members filled with shady individuals. Baru advised Suho to ignore the Crimson Blade's obsession and focus on leveling up. Realizing Suho was about to use Commander's authority, Baru tried to intervene, but Suho told him to get ready, they were going through. As Suho crushed a CCTV camera in his fist, Baru sighed. "Your recklessness reminds me of your father." After passing through the gate, Suho asked if the field dungeon was always covered in a thick blue fog. Baru recognized the fog as magic from the outer realm. It acted as a wall that corrupted other worlds. The Crimson Blade confirmed that the sanctuary's connection to Earth was because of the fog. Baru warned Suho that Itarim's forces were trying to create a massive dimensional hole to send armies through. The stronger the mana within an entity, the more it suffers from interdimensional travel, just like me, Baru explained. Suho realized they had some time before stronger enemies arrived. "Well, my soon-to-be shadows, let us continue leveling up," he said, now surrounded by the razor-clawed Brigga and the dark shadow Razan. Summoning the Crimson Blade with Commander's authority excited the weapon. Suho declared that he would not use the blade as his main weapon anymore, surprising the Crimson Blade. Instead, he wanted to return to his hand-to-hand combat style from the tutorial. Suho sliced through the monsters while using commander's authority for mid-range support attacks. Grabbing the crimson blade, he vanished into a ray of blue light, using the slashing storm skill. When finished, Suho used shadow extraction, his arms now covered in a shadow gauntlet. Baru was pleased with Suho's progress. The crimson blade was shocked, realizing that this was the power of the Shadow Monarch's heir. The more enemies he faced, the stronger Suho became by using the dead, a realization that made the Crimson Blade understand why they had lost the war. The new Shadow Warriors gathered around Suho, making him excited. It does not look like much compared to the hundreds of thousands the king once had, Beru began, but Suho smacked his head. Shut up. Under the bright moonlight, Suho followed the Crimson Blade and asked about the area. It explained that it was once a gate sanctuary. Nearby, a heavily guarded camp was surrounded by shady individuals. Suho was surprised. There was no reason for anyone to be out this late, since monster hunting was usually done during the day. Suddenly, the camp gate opened, and an armored vehicle rolled in. As it stopped, the sight that followed made Suho's blood boil and his battle instincts activate. He saw a group of people tied, blindfolded, injured, and malnourished. One shady figure grabbed a girl with a predatory gaze. Suho's voice turned icy. "Baru, is this human trafficking?" "It appears so," Baru replied grimly. He warned Suho not to interfere since they were trespassers. Getting caught could cost him his hunter certification. But when Baru turned to Suho, he found he was already gone. The Crimson Blade simply said he is already there. Baru knew that Suho's father, Sung Jin-woo, had been a detective and his grandfather a legendary firefighter. Suho, now 21, had grown up watching them, learning from their example. One of the hunters suddenly felt an ominous presence and turned upward, only to be met with the sight of a size 13 black silk shoe right in his face. Baru knew well whenever Suho witnessed injustice, he never hesitated to act.